Okay, so we established a baseline on Saturday night, and now we are going to advance the story. Unlike the other television news agencies that don't know how to cover this. So first, the basics. You need to know the basics. The shooting took place on Saturday, July 13th at 6:11 Eastern Time. Okay? It took place at the Butler Farm Show grounds. That's on Evans City Road, 5 miles from the town of Butler, 30 miles north of Pittsburgh. The assassin is Thomas Matthew Crooks. He was killed by Secret Service snipers. 20 years old, lived in a suburb of Butler, Bethel Park, 40 miles away. The guy, from what I understand, was emotionally disturbed. There's no other big motive, but they're looking at it. There's no conspiracy. There's none of that. Okay? If you look at all the attempted assassinations and successful assassinations, it usually comes down to one mentally or emotionally ill individual. Lincoln is an exception. John Wilkes Booth was a fanatical Confederate. But Garfield and McKinley and JFK, all crazy people do it. And I think this guy falls into that category. But the investigation continues, as I said 45,000 times. Now, Donald Trump was a quarter inch away from being killed. So when Ronald Reagan, another nut, shot Reagan, if you wrote Killing Reagan, we go over everything about it. Ronald Reagan was shot. He escaped death by about 2 inches. Donald Trump was a quarter of an inch. Hit him, as you know, in the ear. If it hit him in the forehead, dead. Or in the eye, he's dead. And unfortunately, there were 3 bystanders hit with gunfire. One of them died, the fire chief. And you all know about that now. And the 2 others are in stable condition, I understand, at this point. I mean, you know, this kind of evil, and it's evil, even if you're emotionally disturbed, you're committing an evil act. It's just, it's off the chart. So the repercussions of this are many. The first one is Donald Trump himself. So I understand, I have not talked to the president. I did send him a note, but I have not talked to him. Donald Trump now has changed his entire speech that he's going to give Thursday night in Milwaukee at the convention. And from what I understand, because I do know the speechwriters involved, it's taking on a much more conciliatory tone. That doesn't mean that Trump is backing away from his assertion that the Biden administration is harming America. All right, that's what Trump will campaign on. And in my opinion, that is true. And the Biden people have an absolute right to campaign on Donald Trump. Actions in the past were irresponsible, so he does not deserve to be president again. Both sides have an obligation, I think, to tell the American people what they believe and why they believe it. What they can't do any longer is personal attacks. And we'll give you plenty of examples coming up on that. So the repercussions of this already have changed history. So Trump, who's in Milwaukee now, is going to give a different speech than he would have. All right, that's number one. I'm hoping to get an advanced copy of that speech. You got to stay with us all week. And not just on the No Spin News, and radio and TV, but on the website. Because I'm going to be, updating every hour on the hour here. So the number one reprieve is Joe Biden. So I had a column that was set to drop Sunday morning that I had to pull back. And the column was on where Joe Biden was inside the Democratic Party. I'm going to post that column tomorrow on BillO'Reilly.com in the message of the day slot. Where do you see this? That's all stalled now. You can't do politics in the middle of an attempted assassination of a prior president of the United States. You can't. So that's all stopped. But Biden is not out of jeopardy. The most powerful people inside the Democratic Party want him out. and something else will happen. I'll get into that later. So, but for the time being, maybe a week or two, Biden gets a breather. And he was real close to getting booted. And if you read the column, I tell you exactly how that was going to come down. So that column is posted tomorrow morning. Both candidates have an obligation now that they didn't have Friday. They have a new obligation. Both men have to admit they've made mistakes, rhetorical mistakes, because they both have. Now, neither Biden nor Trump has ever admitted a mistake, as far as we can find, ever. That's just a fact. Neither man admits mistakes. Okay? Now they should. If Donald Trump gets up there Thursday and says, look, I know I've been gone overboard sometimes, and I'm going to really try not to do that anymore, he wins. Because Biden's not going to do that. When Trump does it, he wins. That's how strong that would be, that message to the American people. So both have an obligation now to say, all right, we're the leaders, and we're going to pull back from these personal attacks. We're going to do that. I hope they both do. I really, it's fine for Biden to call Trump and for them to this, and we can't have this in America, and blah, 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 blah. Lead. That's what I'm asking. Lead. You both have gone overboard in the past. Everybody knows that. Okay. Logistics. Head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheadle, gone. All right. She works for Biden directly. Secret Service is controlled by the executive branch. She's out because the security at the Trump event in Butler was terrible. There's no excuse for it. It was terrible. So Ms. Cheadle will resign. The Secret Service personnel on the site who designed that security, they're done. Okay, so there's going to be casualties inside the Secret Service. Has to happen. There's no excuse. All right, you don't not secure a building with a line of sight to a presidential candidate. You just don't. And they didn't secure the building. Sorry, you're out. Now, there are conspiracy reports that Secret Service wanted this to happen. Anybody saying that is just vile. I'll deal with it if I have to, but we don't report that garbage. All right? But anybody who thinks that the Secret Service allowed that to happen, you're disturbed. Okay, RFK Jr. Biden will not give RFK Jr., despite the fact that his father was assassinated and his uncle was assassinated, Secret Service protection. Why? Because Biden doesn't like him. Here's what RFK Jr. said. Go.
However, President Biden has made the historic decision to deny me a Secret Service detail. I'm the only one in history whose request has ever been denied. I don't spend time worrying about my personal safety, but I do worry about the safety of my family and their sense of well-being.
So now RFK Jr. will get Secret Service protection. Biden will have to give it to him. The fact that Biden didn't give it to him before is just, what can I say? All right.